Right, so we're into it now. After what was a very good Premier League weekend, finally good to see some Premier League football in front of full capacities. And as you can see on your screen, I am joined by Peadar, who is a Man City fan. Not the best of weekends for him, I think it's fair to say, but of course it is a long season ahead. And we'll just get straight into it now. Starting off, I think we just have to start with it, don't we? It's Tottenham Hotspur 1. Manchester City 0 on Sunday. Now, to be honest, I'm going to be honest, I actually missed the game because I was at football myself. But Peadar, if you want to just give us a rundown or a summary of how that game went, because it didn't seem like the result that you'd want. Let's just say so.
Yeah, I don't know what game you're talking about, man. Can we move on to another?
I genuinely thought there was some sort of like you didn't hear me or something like that.
Yeah, do you know what? We'll just dive into it right now. I know you didn't watch it, so basically, half our team is unfit. Okay, I'm not putting excuses or anything. Half our team is unfit. So like Walker, who is, I heard Roy Keane say it yesterday, I agree with him fully. He's one of the best players in the league. I think you couldn't agree with this. Like defenders in the league at stopping counter-attacks. And Tottenham are very good at counter-attacks, like Son's pace, Lucas Moura. Benjamin Mendy is a great squad player to have against teams like, I don't know, Burnley and all that, no disrespect. I'm not calling Tottenham a great team, but they are great at fucking countering us. And Mendy was not suited to that. And I feel sorry for Ake, because every time Ake gets his chance, Mendy is beside him.
I think that the plan for Spurs really was just to soak it up on the break and hit you on the break, really, because I do agree with you with I can understand where you're coming from the fitness thing, because City, I think I'm right in saying, had like barely any pre-season compared to the rest of the teams.
Well, yeah, we had 3 pre-season friendlies. They were all against championship teams. I think it was Barnsley, Blackpool and someone else, Preston. Like, for example, Tottenham had pre-season friendlies against yourselves, Arsenal, like full crowds, Premier League standard, and they were well up to speed. Like, they deserved to win. They were brilliant. Like, they were up for everything. And it was a good taste to see what Nuno's going to be like now at Tottenham, what style he's going to bring. And I think a lot of people kind of, when Nuno was at Wolves, they kind of go overboard with his whole defensive. Like, they can play attacking football, and we saw the counter-attack yesterday. It'll just be interesting to see Spurs in games where they actually are being forced, like when teams are sitting back and they're forced to break teams down. That's when the test comes in for them. But they were very good yesterday.
Yeah, to be fair, they were gritty from what I saw as well. They were really, really gritty. And I personally, if you watch my predictions, you'll know it as well. I said Chelsea'd win the league, and obviously, I'm not saying that this result is massive for City or they're going to lose it just because of this game. But I just feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're definitely going to disagree, but I just feel like there's something about City where they can be gettable at times, and that's why I think, one of the reasons anyway, why I think that Chelsea will win the league this season. I think City will definitely come back, don't get me wrong, but I just think there's something about City, and they haven't won against Spurs at that ground for God knows how long. I think ever. They haven't even scored a goal there, but maybe I'm being too harsh, I don't know.
No, I think you're right. Like, we've played 4 games now. I think it's turning into like our Anfield curse a little bit now, that stadium. We haven't even scored there yet in 4 games. I want to give a shout out to Japhet Tanganga. He was unbelievable yesterday.
Yeah, he got man of the match.
Yeah, he got man of the match, well deservedly. Added to the list of, well, alongside Wan-Bissaka, to just pocket Sterling.
We'll move on to, do you know what, we'll start off, we'll go now with the game on Friday night, Brentford versus Arsenal. Yeah. First of all, what a spectacle with the Brentford fans, and you see your man at the end in the 70s, crying his eyes out at the end. It was just unbelievable, and just same old Arsenal. Ben White got absolutely flapped in by Mbeumo, who should have probably had a hat-trick, to be honest. He missed so many good chances. But what do you think of Brentford's chances of survival now after that game?
Oh, well, man, I just like to start by saying that game just set the tone for the rest of the weekend, and there's so many little subplots in that game. Like, we saw typical Arsenal, like modern day Arsenal, and then we saw a new side come up who are just so well run, and they were absolutely unbelievable. Like, it could not have been more perfect for their fans. They completely rattled Arsenal, being honest. I watched the full game, and their whole style of play, the pressing was ridiculous. Like, from Tony, he was everywhere.
Oh yeah, even though he didn't get a goal contribution, Tony really put in a shift. Like, and in terms of the energy for Brentford, I thought they were really good. They completely outclassed Arsenal in terms of who wanted it more. Brentford, I think, it's a sign of things to come for them in the Premier League, because they have that momentum now. In the first season, when teams go up, they have that momentum because it's their first season in the Premier League, and the fans will definitely help that.
Yeah, their fixtures as well aren't that bad. I mean, the Palace next, no disrespect to them, but Brentford are well capable of beating them. I mean, that Sergi Canos goal was just iconic for them forever. Like,
but Arsenal defensively, once again, I mean, last season I think they had the 3rd best defensive record in the league, and they signed Ben White for 50 million. Obviously, he might have had an off day because he was quite decent in pre-season from what I've heard from Arsenal fans, but I mean, the marking for the second goal in general just summed up the defensive display for Arsenal. It was just absolutely horrendous. They were all over the place.
Yeah, well, if Lacazette and Aubameyang can't provide the goals, and you can't be confident that they will after last season, well then they're screwed basically, because like they're not adding to what they did the other night. Now in terms of how they played, I thought they started off very well, and then the goal went in and they just completely just crumbled. They absolutely crumbled. Brentford grew in confidence.
Yeah, we'll move on again, I guess. And you know what? We'll go on to Man United 5, Leeds 1. Now, first of all, I just want to quickly say, I think for United, right, don't get me wrong, it was a massive win for them and they scored a load of goals or whatever, but they scored 6 goals against Leeds last season, so it was really no different. And I think the thing with Leeds that I don't get me wrong, I really like Leeds and I really like Bielsa, but I think the main thing for Leeds is that once they concede, especially away from home, once they concede a goal, you can tell when they're going to capitulate, and United just completely went to town and scored 5 goals. I thought it was going to end 6 or 7, to be honest with you, but it was a good win for United, don't get me wrong, and Pogba got his 4 assists and Fernandes got his hat-trick and whatever, but I think that United, it's not going to be, the marker that wins them the league or whatever, because I think they'll have tougher games.
United, I'll be honest, I missed that game now out of all of them because I was at work. Jesus, Pogba, like honestly, on his day, he's honestly one of the best midfielders in the world. Like, it was quite a performance from him. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see if they actually are going to be seriously title contenders now with Varane, and see how he fits in with Maguire and Sancho. There'll be a bit of competition up top to see if Sancho can cement his place in there.
I was going to say that I think the important thing for United that'll tell a lot about them is the next few games, because last time, they beat us 4-0 in the first day of the season in 1920, and they were 2 points above the relegation zone in November. I'm not saying that probably won't happen this time, but Leeds at home, especially with the way United play, it suits them absolutely down to the ground. You saw last season when they scored 6 goals against them. I think the jury's out on United still, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh because they were really, really good, don't get me wrong, and I think they'll have a good season, but
because they couldn't have played any better, but one performance, it's not going to change that, and it's consistency now with United. If you want to win this Premier League, you've got to be winning at the very least, I'd say 32 games this season, because it's just gone so competitive now. It's between 4 teams, isn't it? Really, 4.
Yeah.
I held up 3 fingers there.
We'll move down to the other end of the spectrum on a game that I don't think you probably didn't watch. I didn't watch it either because I was watching the Chelsea match, but one of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Watford 3, Aston Villa 2, and I just wanted to mention this game because obviously it was one of the most high scoring games of the weekend, and I think it was probably a little bit of a shock result considering the fact that there's this whole hype about Aston Villa signing Buendia and Ings and Leon Bailey and all those guys, and Watford, everyone really, myself included, thought that Watford were going to get relegated this season, so it was a bit of a shock result, but I actually did predict that that Watford actually would win that game, surprisingly enough, because you see Villa, they lost Grealish, obviously, your good pal Grealish now, and all those players they signed like Buendia, Ings and Bailey, they're going to take time to settle in, and Watford at home, first home game in 18 odd months with the fans in the ground, no one really expects anything from them, and I just think that you could probably see there if you watch the highlights. I watched the highlights on Match of the Day. Watford look like they could be very dangerous on the counter-attack with Ismaila Sarr. He's absolutely rapid and he's got in product as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was flicking through all the games. I actually got to see a good bit. That was one of the games I did watch the most of. Watford deadly on the counter-attack, brilliant. I actually kind of felt sorry for Matt Targett because he was right good last season and he was having nightmares probably as Sarr going to bed.
Yeah, he had absolutely torrid. He was taken off at half time as well. That just goes to show how bad he really, or how spun he was by Ismaila Sarr. The thing I'd say about Watford is their squad I don't think is actually that good, so I think Sarr will be massively important, but the thing about Watford is last season they had the best defensive record in the Championship. I think it'll be really important to see if they can be as resolute in the Premier League, so if they do concede fewer goals it will be good for them, but yeah, players like Sarr and those kind of players like Emmanuel Dennis as well.
Oh, Emmanuel Dennis, by the way, very good striker.
Yeah.
They've got depth because they've got João Pedro, who scored a lot of their goals in the Championship last season. He's sitting on the bench,
Yeah, and Villa as well. I think there's probably still signs to come from Villa because those players like Buendia, who didn't have a great game, Ings scored a penalty but didn't really do much else. I think they'll probably take a few weeks to get settled in, especially without Grealish, because he was massive for them last season. People actually don't even realise how bad they were without Grealish last year.
Oh yeah, everything went through Grealish. Well, not everything, but most things. I remember Matt Targett and Grealish, their link up and crossing the ball into the box and everything. Just the whole way they played was through Grealish. And it is going to take a few weeks for them. Danny Ings is a brilliant signing, by the way. He is going to get 20 goals. Buendia, we know he's literally Premier League standard now. He has been now for a few years. He is really comfortable on the ball, so he's going to probably take time to adjust after last season being in a division below. And Leon Bailey, I have to say, did look very good when he came on. He reminded me a bit of Bertrand Traore on the other side. They both got real flair, and it's just very interesting to watch. I think once Villa get going, they'll be a very interesting team to watch. I wouldn't take much from that defeat, to be honest.
Yeah, they definitely have the minerals to do well this season, even without Grealish. We'll go back up to the big boys. Norwich 0, Liverpool 3. Obviously, a game I watched for obvious reasons because my brother's a Norwich fan. Not like I mentioned that enough, but Liverpool I think might be a little bit overlooked maybe in the title race pre-season, because a lot of people were saying that Liverpool would come fourth or whatever, but they actually looked really good on Sunday. They looked like they had a point to prove, even without all the even without any signings.
To tip off on Norwich, I think it was just they all just kind of collectively got tired, and it could have been any number, but you can see the footballs there. There was times in the first half where Pookie nearly scored. In the second half, they definitely should have scored when Alisson made that save. I wouldn't take anything as a Norwich fan from that. Liverpool were absolutely brilliant. Salah is different breed. I said it on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to just big up other rival players, but he is genuinely a Premier League legend. He's just honestly so good. Van Dijk did look his normal self. It's only one game in. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Liverpool get on now the next few weeks, because as you said, they are being overlooked quite a bit. Everyone's saying Man United, Chelsea, City. How are people just forgetting about Liverpool? Honestly, it's ridiculous.
To be honest, and going back to Norwich, I'd just say that the patterns of play were there, definitely. The energy was there for a good bit. They were, I think the midfield is a lot better than it was previously with Lees Malou and Gilmore. There's a lot better, more of a link from defence to attack, as I said on Twitter. I feel like if they were playing a lesser team or a team around them at home, I think they probably would have got something, if not won the match on Saturday. But yeah, as I said, Liverpool were just clinical, I would say, and they punished Norwich when, they had a lapse in concentration at the back, and yeah, rightfully got their 3-0 win. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace now, because obviously, I had a video on the channel for that game, so you all know my thoughts on it. So what were your thoughts? I don't know if you watched the game, but probably saw the highlights from Chelsea and Crystal Palace. What you gauged from that?
No, I watched bits of all the games, to be honest. I thought Chelsea were just comfortable. How do you even analyse a game like that when you've just got all the possession?
We completely and utterly controlled the game, dominated them. And obviously, Palace, they're gonna need time to obviously implement a new system with a load of new players as well. But I thought we absolutely controlled them. For once, we actually dominated the game and actually scored more than 2 goals. It's only the second time in Thomas Tuchel's era we've scored more than 2 goals in the game. So promising signs, even without Lukaku as well, who's coming in against Arsenal. Yeah.
Wow. But okay. So basically, I was watching one of the games. I don't know which one it was. It could have been Everton Southampton. I switched over literally a second before your man Chalobah took that shot. It was some moment, because you could just, the possession was brilliant, the build-up play. You knew Chelsea were onto something the way they were playing. They were just spreading it around the pitch, and then next thing it comes to him and he just takes a touch and everyone just screams shoo, and the man, unbelievable scenes from him.
Yeah, for the rest of the games we'll just give our quick thoughts on it. Did you watch any of the highlights for Leicester Wolves? 1-0 Leicester.
Awful game. I'd say I watched bits of it. I thought Adama Traore should have scored for Wolves.
Vardy's goal though was really good, I think, with the finish, and then the shithousery at the end going over the howl in front of the Wolves fans.
Proper finish from
Just
Vardy.
typical Jamie Vardy. Oh yeah, Leicester, I think Leicester will be the same as usual, where they're title contenders for the first half of the season, then they might drop off when they get a few injuries, but they've improved their depth this year. And in terms of Wolves, there's not really more you can say, to be honest. I think it's going to take a few weeks to actually gauge where Wolves are at as well with the new manager. Everton 3, Southampton 1. I think just typical Rafa Benitez performance. I think Calvert-Lewin is going to absolutely bang in this Benitez system, because they play good football but they try and get balls into the box with Benitez, and that's just what Calvert-Lewin feeds off.
It was a typical DCL header, the diving header, just brilliant, when Decore out of nowhere in the box spins and puts on top bins. And
brilliant goal from him.
Yeah, and the noise in Goodison must have been just incredible.
I wonder will Rafa be able to turn around the Everton fans, because that's obviously the main topic of conversation there. Is he seemed to get a good reception at the start, but I wonder if things go badly in terms of results, will things go badly between their relationship. But in terms of Southampton, obviously not really much you can say. I would kind of worry for Southampton, especially now without Vestergaard and Danny Ings. I'd worry about Southampton, but we'll see. It's a long hard season, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, with Southampton, I think everybody is, I'd say every video I've watched predictions is tipping them to get relegated, and it was just ironic when they went 1-0 up with that Armstrong goal. Okay, they've got rid of Ings and Vestergaard. They've still got time to bring a centre back in. They've got a great manager, Their depth isn't great, but I don't know. I'd give them time. You know, we were very amazed last season when they were, what was it? They were first in November or something at some stage.
Yeah, like late December I think it was, or around December anyway.
Yeah, I give them time, man.
So yeah, Burnley and Brighton 2-1 Brighton. It's a good win for Brighton. I think Brighton will do quite well this season, especially when they sign a striker, or if they sign a striker anyway.
I think I had draw written all over it, whether it was 0-0 or 1-1. I think fair play to Brighton. They've finally gotten over their expected goals horror show. And by the way, great finish from McAllister. Your man Moder is a really good player for Brighton.
I think the thing I'd worry about, like Southampton though, I'd worry about Burnley as well, because they haven't strengthened whatsoever. Nathan Collins won't even get a game because he's only back up. They've kept a few players, but their depth is really bad, and Sean Dyche, he's going to have to work miracles once again to keep them up.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, we've been saying this every year. We do this September every single year. We say Burnley's depth is, and they just go out and they shithouse wins and they get loaded draws, and that's just how Dyche does it. But there is speculation, like Dyche is coming towards 6 or 7 years at Burnley now. When does he leave? He surely is coming near the end of his time now.
Well, yeah, the final game of the weekend then, actually the highest scoring game of the weekend this time, Newcastle 2, West Ham 4. As I said, once again, I was at football, so I missed most of this game, but I saw the highlights. West Ham carrying on from where they were last season. Benrahma looks massively improved from last season. I think he'll have a really big season. Antonio, once again, as we know, is quality, but will his hamstrings be able to actually, or his legs in general, be able to withstand the whole season by himself? I'm not sure, but what did you think of this game if you watched it?
Yeah, I watched the full thing. For me, this was in the top 3 games of the weekend. It was an absolute cracker. Like St. James's Park was just rocking. It was absolutely buzzing. And St. Maximin for that first goal was ridiculous. Did you see it, man?
Yeah, he absolutely spun Declan Rice a new one.
Yeah, and then Callum Wilson, obviously, bags, man. He's going to have a great season, I think. Even if Newcastle are terrible, I think Callum Wilson, with the fans and all that, I can see him scoring half chances this season. Yeah, and Antonio and Benrahma were definitely the stars of the game. As you said, Benrahma has definitely improved. Apparently he'd an unreal pre-season, and the two of them, their link-up was brilliant. And it's going to be a season for Benrahma where he kind of takes Lingard's place probably and feels like he's the man driving that attack forward. It'll be interesting to see how West Ham do now with Europe coming up soon enough, like with their depth not being the best.
The only thing I'd say about Newcastle is they are absolutely reliant on Callum Wilson and Sam Maximin, and you probably say Joe Willock now as well. If any of them gets injured, they could be in massive trouble.
Oh man, you take away them 3, you're left with probably, I think you said it in one of your videos, more Brexit than Burnley. It's facts. Like, there's such bog standard average players in that squad when you really go through it. I mean, they were 2-1 up at half time. They lose the bloody game 4-2, and they're at home at St. James's Park, first game. Like, that says enough, you know. Not a great way to start, but it's early.
I was going to say, would you want to do something like Bell End of the Week or something?
Oh, Bell End of the Week.
Obviously, you haven't been given a lot of time to do it, so, but...
Man, you put me on the spot now. I'm trying to think through the games. I think it kind of has to be Ben White or Bernd Leno. It has to be. Like, how can you let the ball bounce in the box from a long throw-in? Like, it has to be one of them. Ben White, 50 million fraud. Bell End of the Week.
Bell End of the Week. That's where we're going to leave the video. If you did enjoy, leave a like, all that sort of good stuff. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new, looking to hit 1.7k as soon as we possibly can. And yeah, we'll make this a weekly thing, hopefully, and we'll see you next week.